Money is just a tool.
Yeah.
It's just a tool. There's no fun just going and visiting the numbers in your bank.
Deborah Meaden is one of the longest running investors on Dragon's Den.
We're all not best friends.
You keep track of whose investments do better.
We do, but who tells the truth?
Now she's written a book for children.
You know, they hear worrying stuff about money. They'll make up their own version of what that means for them. And it's usually worse than the reality.
Spot on.
I'm quite lucky we didn't have a lot of money. There wasn't a shyness there, so there isn't a shyness from me. Everybody should know what their version of success is, and it really shouldn't be cash.
I was thinking of how to start this today. I mean, we've been all a bit flustered, haven't we? I mean, T's even put a shirt on, honestly. It's like, what'd you
funny.
do? No, I was thinking about it. I've been watching you on TV for 17 years.
Yeah, all right.
17 seasons,
Yeah,
we'll
all
say
right.
that.
19 seasons.
19
seasons, yeah.
Yeah, so one thing from reading the book is called Why Money Matters, and it's for kids. Is it 6 to 9?
6 to 9 year olds, yeah.
Yeah. We're going to hold it up to camera so we can get a good shot, and we'll link it in the show notes and in everything else. Honestly, I read it with my boys. They loved it.
I read it myself and I
They're
loved
harsh
it.
critics. We read a book every night.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. And, you know, they're interested in money, and it feels like money's the gatekeeper to all the things that they want in life. They do, but they don't really understand why I say, oh, it doesn't grow on trees. And, you know.
How old are they?
Then they're 10, and then my partner's got a son who's 8. So they're kind of...
Oh, right. So 8's bang in the middle.
Yeah,
But 10's probably on the upper end of the book.
No, he needs to learn. He needs to learn. He's probably worse than the younger one in that sense.
Okay.
There's one thing that's clear from it, from the first opening page, was that your parents were also quite an influence on your view of money.
Absolutely. Actually, our parents are a huge influence on us in terms of, you know, pretty much how your parents behave with money is going to set the tone for how you behave with money. I'm quite lucky we didn't have a lot of money, which meant that it wasn't easy. You know, there were a lot of discussion about it.
It seems almost negative in the book, not negative as in it wasn't like a fun thing that they were talking about the money. You were aware that they might not have had much from a young age.
Yeah, well, actually, it was my mother on her own. She was a single parent family, you know. But she was divorced with 2 young girls, there wasn't a lot of money around. So it wasn't a question of, you know, what do you want this week? It was a question of what we could afford that week. So it was, but it was a good lesson. It was a good lesson.
Yeah, and then I saw a wonderful quote from you about when your parents were together and they discussed money. It was framed from the perspective of, what do we want from life? And I like that. Honestly, I was like, oh God, I need to ask myself more of that, rather than how do I get £1 million? Do you know what I mean?
That is honestly, it's money is just a tool.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about it this way, I work, and that work, I store the output of that work into this bit of paper that says, right, you've earned these credits, you know.
Fun
and
coupons.
And why have you done that? You know, why are you working? Why are you doing all the stuff you're doing? Because you want to do, I think it's about doing the stuff that you want to do in life, you know, whether that is, you know, projects or helping other people or buying the thing that you've always wanted to buy. You know, it's just a tool. There's no fun just going and visiting the numbers in your bank.
And isn't it mad that someone like me, who's a finance professional for however long, a finance YouTuber, a quote like that resonates with me, because even I sometimes forget that that's what it's about, if that makes sense.
We all do.
Yeah.
We all do. I think, you know, you get on a treadmill, you just, you know, it's about how much can I earn? And, you know, listen, I've done exactly the same thing, but I just have realized in life, you know, you've got to remember it's a tool. And I used to say to people, so what do you want to do? I want to be a millionaire. That is not a job. You know, that's what that happens to happen. Well, to be fair, you're right, isn't it? But that happens from all the stuff that you do. You know, it's what do I want to do in life? What do I want to get out of life? And sometimes the end result of that is to have a lot of money. Sometimes it's not.
So what made you want to write a children's book?
Well, see, I haven't even got children. Do you know, I'm a bit puzzled. I haven't even got children. No. I get asked a lot about advice for children. You know, it's, Deborah, you know, how do I talk to the kids about money? And it struck me that there wasn't anything around. It's not on the school curriculum, and it should be. You know, there aren't enough books around, and we form our money habits as early as 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
So it's too late to teach them about money when they're 12 or 13. You know, this is the age we've really got to catch them. And it matters to me. I want people to have good lives. You know, I love business. I love people. I love seeing people in their right life. And what I mean by that is some people, I know too many people who are in the wrong job, you know, working crazy hours, hating every minute of it. And it just makes me feel unhappy. You know, I like being around people who have found the thing that they love. in life, and money helps them do that.
Yeah. Why do you think we don't teach people about money then?
Don't think we like talking about it, do we?
No.
We're a bit funny, aren't we?
It's a British thing.
It is
But
a very British
But like you said,
thing.
my parents never talked about money, and they had money, and they still didn't talk about money. So it's like, it's hard to.
But we learn
It's like, it's this kind of culture.
we learn those habits though. Children will talk about anything and talk to anyone.
Yeah.
You know, like prejudice is
Yeah.
is put into kids, isn't it? You know, so the money thing must be learned from somewhere.
Well, but I guess nobody talks to us about money. So we kind of learn not to talk to
about
anybody
money.
else about money. But, you know, I always think children are more worried about what they don't know and what you don't talk to them
Yeah.
about than they are about the stuff you do talk to them about. So I think parents think, don't want to worry the kids about the money. Well, actually, my parents kind of had to, or my mother had to. You know, she had to explain to us, I'm sorry, you can't have that. So there wasn't a shyness there. So there isn't a shyness from me. You know, I'm quite happy to talk about it. And I think it's important. Otherwise, I think children make up their own version. If they hear stuff going on, they hear cost of living crisis, you know, they hear worrying stuff about money, they'll make up their own version of what that means for them. And it's usually worse than
Yeah.
the reality.
Spot on. One thing that I got from reading it with my son was he saw that money was a real thing that flowed, and the transition of money across different devices. Whereas in real life, his problem is he thinks my phone just magics money. Like, you know, I've got no money. Oh well, just use your phone. Like, it's your book was really good at showing like this is where it came from. You know, shekels and bits of gold, and that's rolled down now until this abstract credit and debt and investment, and it just connects that in the child's mind in a really nice way.
But you make a really good point there. I think it's harder now because it's invisible. A lot of money is invisible, you know, and it doesn't mean it's one thing when you've got it in your hands and you realize that when you run out, you run out. But right now, once it's invisible, it's like, what is how big's the pot?
We detach ourselves from it further and further.
Yeah.
And all the studies show that if you have physical cash, you spend less. People who are primed by money and see the actual money, they react very differently. Even just putting £1 on a menu. So if you take a menu and you remove the pounds, people spend 8% more because they don't associate the money with the, in a fancy restaurant, it'll just say 11.
I've always
gets
wondered why they do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you go to like
raw.
Scott's in Mayfair, they always have just the like fish and chips, and it'll be like 25 or
It's
something,
called
but they
money
never
priming.
put the.
Yeah, so it's like behavioral finance, and it basically means that as soon as someone sees a pound sign, they become stingier. They become more aware of spending money. So yeah,
Well, that's a bit sneaky, isn't it?
use it on the day and be like, take all the pound signs off that. We'll sell 8% more. Yeah, it is sneaky, but it's important that we know these things because without financial literacy, we die younger, we don't get as rich, and we take less risks. And one thing from looking at your life that I really liked, so 4.5 million on Dragon Den investments. I don't know if that's accurate. It might be more, it might be
It's
less.
more now.
Yeah. You did a management buyout on a family business, which must have been slightly daunting.
We've got quite feisty at times,
well,
that's for sure.
I want to talk about that in a second. And most impressively, in my eye, was you set up a business at 19 that involved a foreign country. How are you so willing to jump into the fire in that sense, from a risk perspective?
I think that might, I don't know, because I don't actually spend a lot of time thinking about why I am the way I am, but I do get asked it. And I think maybe having seen my mother, who had a really tough time, work her way out of it, I'm just not afraid of it. I'm just not afraid of it. For a start, when I set up the business, I didn't know what I couldn't do.
Yeah.
I never thought, oh, I can't do that. Or you're not allowed to.
almost,
Yeah.
or
Just,
naivety.
walked into a few Italian companies and said, I'm your girl. I can bring your goods back to the UK. Didn't even know. You didn't even register the mild alarm on their faces, So I think not stopping yourself. Too many people stop themselves. They reason themselves out of
100%.
doing something. So I think I don't do that. I never have done that. And as I say, I think an example of a mother who had a really, as tough as it was going to get, working a way out of it. So it just made me feel like, well, if I lost it all, I'd just do it all again, so there isn't a fear.
So you're always like that from a young age. It
Always.
didn't come.
That not many people are, like we had a young entrepreneur called Timo, and he said something similar because at 17 he set up a business, sold it for 125 grand, and he was just like, I was naive to my own lack of ability, so I just went headfirst into it, and you figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
But most people have a fear of loss or a fear of complete life destruction that they think the worst is going to happen, like the kids.
Yeah.
They don't know what it is. So they make up a reality that's
Yeah.
even worse. And if you
Yeah.
actually just go for it, it's never that bad.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think I'm still the same.
Can we talk about the family buyout? Because I think that's really interesting. How did you buy a business off your parents? Like, did you screw them on the price?
No, I didn't, unfortunately. They're quite savvy, my parents. No, we had two different. So we'd always had this thing about you look after the business looks after you. So it was always business and family separately. But it is fair to say when you're actually buying a business from your family, it
Muddies the water.
It does muddy the water a bit. We had separate advisors. They were mildly startled at times, I think. So we had separate advisors. They were trying to get the highest price from me, and I was obviously trying to pay the lowest price. And it was a competitive bid. Other people were interested in the business. So I think we mainly kept it as, listen, we're great friends now. We get on really, really well. So we came through it. But there are moments when when a child in you goes, but I'm your daughter.
Yeah,
sort
me out.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
I think what happens is that in the heat of the moment, when it's all going on, it can be very, very feisty. But actually, on reflection, if you're a grown up and you can be logical about it, they weren't involved in the other second part of the business.
No.
They did very, very very well. That's a message for my parents.
We'll clip
They have many, 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 many millions in the bank when I bought it from them. Slightly more millions than I wanted to pay for it, but there we go.
And at that point that you sold the business, how did that change your life?
I think it was really interesting. So I suddenly realized I had money because my wealth had been tied up in the business. On paper, I was worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I was working like crazy. I literally, because it was holiday parks, we didn't shut the clubs until 1 o'clock in the morning. So I was doing crazy, crazy hours. So there was a moment where I suddenly thought, I don't have to do that anymore. And I also don't think I realized I loved Westar. I loved the business. I loved the people I worked with. I didn't realize how much of my life it took up.
Yeah.
And when it had gone, and I also had cash available to do whatever I wanted to do, it was it was a real eye opener to me. The stuff that I wasn't doing because I was spending all my time at work.
Did it make you happier, the money?
Listen, it's really easy to say money doesn't make you happier. I think not having money, it's much easier to be unhappy with money.
Yeah.
So I did it make me happier? I don't know. I've always been a pretty happy individual. It's never really, I don't think of myself as unhappy. Never have done. I could do the things that I wanted to do without worrying about it, and I'm not just about worrying about the money, but worrying about work. So if I'd go off for a longer holiday, there'd always be, business in the back of my brain. And it was the first time ever that I could just go away and not think about business. I'm not sure it makes me happy. I tell you what I do think. I think that there comes a point at which more money doesn't make you more happy.
Yeah.
Once you get to £75,000, £100,000 a year, I'm not sure that every £100,000 above that gives you an incremental increase.
Diminishing return on it.
It's not,
Yeah, so why do you do what you do then? Because you're clearly very busy.
I love it.
You love it.
I love it. The thing I realised when I sold Westar is that I'd been doing my entire life the thing that I love doing. I love business. I love being around creative people. I just like being around people. And that was a real eye-opener for me, because it wasn't long before I was looking for businesses to invest in and not just put my cash in, businesses that I could help. And I think that's very telling. I have my absolute choice. What do I want to do in life? Oh my goodness, I want to do the thing I've been doing. I don't want to be in a room of people who agree with me. I want to be in a room of people who are testing. It's just like life comes alive. But life comes alive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When you've got lots of different viewpoints and you all have a big discussion, and at the end of it you agree what you're going to do, and then all that energy that's being created through all those conversations, it's going to go into making something work. Love that. What's not to love about that?
Damo, you know what your problem is?
Hair loss.
Damn straight. Also, I noticed from time to time you get a little bit stressed.
Yeah, I think it comes with my job in a way. So when I post a video, I get quite anxious around that, throwing it out there and thousands of people watching it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, don't worry, mate, I got your back. I've got a little something for you. It's called Sensate.
Where did you get that from? You just whipped that out of nowhere, didn't you?
Don't worry, mate. It'll help you relax.
Okay.
And thanks to the good people at Sensate, we have a season 2 of Making Money podcast. Otherwise, I'd be on the street selling crypto. It's a Pebble-like device and an app which helps you when you're feeling a bit stressed or anxious.
So, T, what's it going to do?
I'm not a scientist.
What?
It's to do with the vagus nerve and essentially managing your stress response. Our producer Will uses it every time you call him, stressing him out, and he says it's great. It works well.
Sees me dialing and reaches for the Sensate.
Exactly. And now it's your turn. Test it out. Let us know how it goes. Get your meditation on and report back.
All right, mate. Well, yeah, I'll give it a blast and I'll let you know.
If you struggle with anxiety and want to try Sensate, head to getsensate.com/makingmoney and use the code MM10 to get 10% off.
Do you find those personalities through the Dragon's Den? Do you find being with those other millionaires, you find those kind of people?
Yeah, I mean, we're very competitive. You got to be on your game, which is great. And it's challenging, and that's great. That's fantastic. You know, and we all respect each other. We're all not best friends. You know, I like them all. Peter and I have known each other for a very long. I was with him yesterday, actually. Peter and I have known each other for a very long time. I've made some really good friends, and others I like, but we hardly see each other. Yeah, they're acquaintances. Yeah. You know, it's like life, really, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You know.
You say you're competitive. Do you keep track of whose investments do better?
Oh, well, we do, but who tells the truth?
Yeah.
Honestly, who tells the truth?
Yeah. So one thing I found really interesting about your life whilst doing the research was your relationship with your partner. I think you're a rare person that's you've done the business success, but you also seem to have nailed the personal life. I don't know, you might disagree with me, but
if I do, I'm not going to say it out loud, because that would be the end of that personal relationship.
40 years have you been together?
Yeah.
Money in the relationship, how do you balance that? If you don't mind me asking, you're clearly the higher earner. How does that work in terms
Paul
of...
doesn't earn, and I do. And I earn because I love what I'm doing. Paul is brilliant Paul makes all of this better because he looks after our property in Somerset. You know, I don't have to worry about what's going on. We've got a vegetable garden. He grows all of the vegetables. We've got animals. He looks after all the animals. So that when I step out of this busy life, and I do, and I need to, that I can go,
yeah, that's nice.
And it's a shared partnership. You know, it's that is equally as valuable as what I do.
Yeah, because otherwise you'd be going home to chocolate sandwiches and no support and all of that.
What would the point be?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I'd be those people. Funnily enough, I was talking this morning to some business people saying, you know, you've got to get your balance. You've got to remember why you're in business and why you're doing what you're doing. It's to make your life better. So if you get those moments where you think, this is crazy, I'm working, this is mad, and I'm not enjoying anything else, then you need to really readjust, you know. And I think what is good is that when I can do all of this, I can be as busy as I am, I can do all the stuff that I am, because when I go back to Somerset, I can go.
Do you find that's quite rare though? I feel like a lot of people, especially my parents, like we had great holidays and things, but they spent a lot of time working. When we were young, I always remember them working late, working hard.
Still work now, don't they?
Yeah, they both still work now.
They're both successful. They've got a nice house.
But do they enjoy it?
Yeah, they must do.
My mom's a doctor, so she enjoys it because she loves she loves the job. But my dad does it just for work. Like, he's a businessman, so he does like different things. When did you realize it's important to be happy and not just chase money and just work really hard all the time?
Well, I'm lucky because I like the thing that I do in work. So that, you know, it doesn't feel, when I'm working, I don't feel, although there are times, I defy anybody,
always.
Even if they love what they're doing, there's times. I do get out of balance sometimes. Luckily, Paul will say, you're getting out of balance, you know, and that is, you know, that can pull me back a bit. So that is good, having somebody outside. We never talk business.
Oh, really? Okay.
No. Our home is our home. There's a line around it. There's never been a photograph taken, a film made, nothing. That is our home. That is our absolute sanctuary. And we don't talk business. I don't have a computer in the house because I know it'd be shouting at me, just check up on that email, you know. So I'm very good at switching off. But can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How are you going to approach, having seen that in your parents, how are you going to approach life?
Well, I just had I've got a 6-month-old and I want to do the opposite of my parents. So I work from home. So I get to see him like every day.
There you go.
Yeah, I love it.
I think your generation is going to be very different because you've seen what happens when you don't spend time with
Yeah.
your children. You just miss that moment.
Yeah.
Same with you?
Yeah, well, my son's 10, so now I can see him crossing over into the point where he cares about his
Friends.
mates
Yeah.
more, and it's kind of like you fighting for their attention a
Yeah.
little bit. But yeah, one of the reasons I quit work, my full-time job, to do YouTube full-time was so that I could have more time with him, and I have been able to, because I could spin both plates and earn double the money, but there was no life in that, so I quit the job to do this.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it is interesting how the generation before shapes the next generation.
Yeah.
In the same way with money and stuff, like my mum was very risk averse in terms of investing, and I think she probably got that from my nan.
Yeah.
But now I will be telling my son, invest, get involved, do all these things.
Read that book.
Read this book. Yeah.
My kid will be reading that
Get
soon.
your jelly beans out and work out compound interest.
Well, he asked if you could sign it, because then he was like, it'd be worth more money then. So,
You're teaching him some stuff, right?
Hustler. He said, because he saw the signature and he was like, is that real? I was like, oh no, I think it's print. He was like, oh, could you get
Which
real?
one?
I swear there was a signature in it.
Oh, there is. No, because I always sign the purple
Yeah,
page.
there
You're
it
right,
is.
that
Yeah,
one there.
yeah,
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 I always
see.
sign the purple
So I was like, is that real? I was like, no. And he was like, get a real one. It'll be worth more money. I was like, we're not selling it. Yeah, he also liked the ice cream. The was it 20 grand?
£20,000 ice cream
that's
with
crazy.
gold in it and a platinum
really,
spoon.
Really. That's a little bit,
It's insane.
I
is
mean,
insane.
you said you would buy it if you had a couple mil.
A couple bill.
Really?
Okay,
I was
I was
gonna
going to
say.
say a couple mil. That's still
Not a
very
couple of million. I
expensive.
wouldn't have a couple million for very long
Very
if I stayed
low.
on ice cream. No, I mean, that Timo again said, basically, he's got friends who are worth hundreds of millions, and it comes down to a decision of, I want the best thing right now, and there's a burger for 10,000, I'll buy it, because that doesn't register to me in terms of my bank balance, and it's guaranteed to be good quality. That's how he framed it. Do you have any outlandish
What's the
expenditure?
most outrageous thing
Yeah.
you've...
No, I tell you what I do. I spend way too much money on our house. So it's a historically important property that is was completely run down, and we have completely overcapitalized. So I would be advising anybody else, do not do what you did.
So if you
to
were
our
to sell it, you might not
property.
get the money back.
No, won't get the money back.
No.
Absolutely won't get
But
the
you
money
enjoy
back.
it every
But
day.
it's my home.
Yeah.
You enjoy it
It's my
every
home.
day.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not an
and
investment.
again, for me, that's what money is for. I don't have to get a return on everything. It's about doing the things I want to, and that's what I wanted to do. So I'm not, and I am really not that person who thinks that the more you pay for it, the better it is.
No.
Because it really isn't.
No,
really not.
I got a YouTube comment the other day that actually said they used to be your neighbour.
Oh, who's that?
I mean, it was,
Go on then.
silly name
Yeah.
at something, but they basically said, I used to live next door to Deborah. We'd only ever talk over the fence while gardening, and then one day she popped up on Dragon's Den. They might be lying, because people tend to chat.
Can't remember a garden fence chat, to be
No,
honest.
no. So
Not
Might
yeah.
be a long
Remember
time
that.
ago now.
No, they're lying.
Not really. Yeah,
The amount of people that lie is so hilarious. Speaking of lying, do you get it a lot in the Dragon's Den as well?
I don't listen. I'm not sure it's lies.
Incompetence, is it?
I think sometimes they don't know what is important to tell us. So you will come out, look at due diligence, and think, "Why didn't you tell me that?" And they won't necessarily have known the implication of that, because they're not. Some of them are sophisticated business people. Others really aren't. So, but a couple of times I have felt misled. And I consider, if you knowingly withhold important information, I think that's a lie.
Yeah.
So there's been a couple of those, but generally I think it's probably just a mistake. They just don't understand the importance of something. Often it's over things like loans. They don't think of a director's loan as a loan.
Yeah.
So they think that's, we mean bank loans or something. And I come out and there's a £250,000 director's loan. I'm like, guys, that's a loan.
Yeah.
So
I saw the one where the guy didn't understand that if you get 50% of the business for 600 grand, then the whole business is 1.2. And then he shortened your name and
Debs.
Yeah,
that's right.
he got
Debs.
the full
Yeah,
fury.
that was
so good.
But that wasn't me. That was Peter.
Yeah,
I didn't even hear
yeah.
it, Peter, but he just called you Debs.
Yeah, I know. Did he? And I was like, oh shit. Yeah, I think when I was coming over, I was talking to the taxi driver. I've been name dropping you all day. I'm not going to lie. And the taxi driver was, she's a boss, but she's very nice. And I think that's the reputation
I'll take
you have.
that. I like
and that clip was
I'll
just
take
like that.
Do tell me, so the cash they have out on the table, is it real, or is it just...
Do you get asked this a lot?
Is it just a layer of real notes? I'm sure you get asked it all the time.
So it's been real once.
And someone stole it.
No, it was lovely. We were doing a trail for the show, and they bought a load of cash in because it was around about loads of money time, and we sort of walked towards the camera throwing a load of cash that had to be real cash, and it turned up with a bodyguard.
I was going to say,
and I'm like, which one of us do you think they think is going to steal that money? So. It was once.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think that's a hard no.
Hey, as long as it was once, that's all that matters.
It's a lot of cash and the logistics, like you say.
I say you're going to have like armed
because-
guards every episode if you did.
Maybe the top note is real, and then the rest is just stacks of fake money.
Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe who knows?
And what I would like to know really is, if someone listening to this, what makes a good business idea in your mind?
Well, there's got to be a need for it.
Yeah.
So I think somebody who identifies a problem that is a big enough problem. A lot of people come up with a problem that probably you're going to get once in 1,000 years.
Yeah.
That's not a business,
Yeah.
know. So there are enough people experiencing that problem, understanding that market. Can you solve that problem in a way that you can sell it, whether it's a service or whether it's goods, at a price that people will pay? Because again, if you come up with a solution of a problem, but it's so expensive, nobody's going to buy it, that's not a business. So,
Unless it's a 20 grand ice cream.
Unless it's, and you're stupid enough to spend £20,000 on ice cream. Can't believe you're even contemplating
I
that.
just wanted the platinum and gold spoon.
Yeah, but it might be horrible. You might not. Why don't you just go and get yourself a platinum and gold spoon made?
Yeah, well,
You can add it all to the rest of his gold.
I'm a collector of gold. Yes, I like a little bit of gold.
Little glinty gold.
Yes.
That's quite
Won't put it in a
dragony,
necklace.
isn't
Yeah, it is dragony.
it?
Yeah, Saturday's gold.
Gold. Yeah.
Damo, do you know what my favourite part of season 1 was?
I'm going to go with when Kerry Katona gave you a hug.
Good times. No, it was actually reading your bank statement. Hit it. What in the world is manual?
Oh, don't do me like that.
What is manual? What
It's
is
hair
manual?
loss treatment.
Hair loss treatment.
Oh, I wish I'd asked for that clip to be deleted. But yeah, I've been using Manual for a few months now. I've been impressed with the service and the results. So I did ask them if they wanted to sponsor the podcast.
I mean, to be fair, your hair does look a lot thicker. I mean, not as thick as mine. Mine's pretty glorious and luxurious, but...
Luxurious.
But for the 50% of men who do struggle with hair loss, how are we going to help them out?
Maybe they should get one of those hair sponges that you use. Or they could get 55% off their first order with Manual by using code MM55. There's a link in the description.
Now, back to the show.
And my original seat.
So do any businesses stick to your mind in the den that you've maybe invested in or went through that you were like, yes, that is it. Like that ticks all the boxes.
So I was, several actually, but there's a business I was with this morning, funnily enough, called Fussy that set about, there was one line. Somebody asked me today, when did you know you're going to invest? They were good guys, 2 really good guys. It's a refillable deodorant product. And they said the immortal, we're on a mission to get single-use plastic out of the bathroom.
Yeah, awesome.
And at that point, it was just like, right, bingo.
Yeah.
You now need to lose me.
From a money perspective, does being on the show cost you money then, in a sense of the investment? Obviously, you make money on the investments, but it's quite a weird dynamic, isn't it? To get you on to a show that you essentially take a lot of risks to be on.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because people go, well, whenever a business is successful, they go, well, the BBC should have that money. But of course, when I'm
that
like,
what they say?
yeah,
says that? Cheek of
but
it.
but on the other hand, I'm like, you don't want the losses though, do you?
Yeah.
You won't like
Right.
it. I can see that headline when a business fails. So yeah, I've forgotten the question.
Well, it's just a lot of risk that you take from an
Yeah.
outside perspective. So is that understood from the start? You're going to get an opportunity to invest in businesses.
Yeah, and they are high risk. They're higher. They are at the risky end. That's what they are. But I think we're all there. We're not there to earn our money out of those investments. I know that sounds silly,
No.
but we don't need to do it.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not going to change. It's really not going to change our lives a lot. It's going to change the investee's life a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So to be a dragon, you've got to want to put the time in. You've got to want to make a difference to businesses. It's not just about I'm going to put my money in. I want a load of money back. I've got a fantastic guy called Martin, and his wife came in, and with a product called Marksman, and he said, "I've got Asperger's. I don't ask me any numbers because I haven't got a clue, but I've got this little thing here, and I think it's a little marking tool, and I think everybody in the world should sell it, obviously, and we've just signed a massive licensing deal in the US with a company, and and I get it isn't about." It is, of course, it's about the money because that's the measure of success. But I just look at Martin now. I think your life.
Yeah, you've changed his life.
Your life's changed. You get to see your product out there, walk into all the DIY stores, and there it is. There's a marksman. You know, that's a lovely moment.
I think the good thing is it gives people who are not in your world a chance just to get some experience from people who know.
Yeah.
Where, you know, like VC and angel investing and that, you could have the best product in the world, but if you don't know how to get in front of those people, it doesn't matter. It's going nowhere.
Absolutely.
Whereas the show gives that. The one thing is, do you think that you invest in both your personal life and on the show? Does the show mean that you get a much better deal in terms of equity slice?
I look for a better deal because I do think I bring more.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not just putting my money
Well,
in.
you can pick up a phone and people will answer.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely right. So I will be honest. Yes, I do expect a better deal because people have got to think I've got a finite amount of time. So I've got to get a return for that time. You know, I've got to think this is well spent. Now, the return isn't always just cash. Sometimes it is just that lovely moment of thinking I've changed their lives. You know, and I'm not saying that's because I'm such a lovely. I'm just that's a reward. That's a lovely, brilliant moment. But I also don't. I don't want to be in business with grit under my eyes and grit under my partner's eyes.
Okay.
I want us to think we're probably both a little bit away from where we wanted to be, but equally not just because all that will happen, you'll go out of the den and the deal will fall over. You know, if you push somebody too far, then they'll come out of the heat of the moment and think, do you know what, that's too much. I don't want that. I want to do a fair deal in the den.
And then you lose the chance to be involved. I remember reading, you said you got the call from the Dragon's Den people and you thought, do I want to do this because it might just change my life? It has changed your life. I can imagine that if you walk down the street, people will stop you. They stopped me, so they're definitely going to stop you. Do you regret the decision at all?
No, not at all. No, I've loved every minute of it. And when I think about how hard I had to work to get some of the connections that I can make so easily now,
that's
you know,
crazy.
It's amazing. And you know, it's business, and I love business. I can't describe it. It feels like home. You know, I don't think there's another show that I could have done. Well, there isn't. You know, I sit in that chair and it's home.
Did you ever get any imposter syndrome, if you know what I mean by that? Were you ever there like, what the hell is going on?
No.
You're not bothered? I love that. I love that you've always been happy.
No,
Sorry.
you're fine. So I don't see you
I'd
getting
like
bothered.
to say yes, but no.
I'm sat here around a kitchen table with you thinking, what is going on? Tremaine doesn't know what's going on either.
I do get those. I get those moments sometimes, and it's usually when I'm in the world of media.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be at the BAFTAs and think, I used to be a bingo caller.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so I do get those, but not in my world. I don't.
No,
You know,
I
when I'm
get
doing what
that.
I do, not in my world. I don't.
Yeah. How do you see the social media business space? I mean, your Twitter's brilliant. It is. No, it is. You've been
Bit punchy at
the
times.
no BS, no
there's
BS
no
business
bullshit. You're
person.
absolutely right.
Yeah, and I saw someone the other day saying, why is it that Deborah Meaden says the things that all business people should say? You know, you call out things that you see that it feels like others won't.
I don't have shareholders. I don't have to worry about my image. You know, I don't. I don't. And anyway, I just find it hard not to. Fundamentally, I just find it hard not to.
But you see Gary Lineker,
Yeah.
and he spoke out about certain things, and he got into a bit of
But they
flack with
undid
it.
that, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
They
Well,
did.
They quickly realised.
Yeah,
oh God,
they did.
But
Yeah.
you're in a similar position in a way, and I'm not saying. I think you know what you say is spot on, and I think most people agree. You voice what the public's saying. It's nice to hear someone that's at the top say those things. But do you get pressure from?
None at all. I've
It's
never been
interesting.
asked to tone it down.
It's interesting
Never once.
considering that he got that. You know.
Oh, he has a lot more followers than me, baby. I don't know. But
Influence
and
is
also don't
influence.
forget, I don't work for the BBC. I do some work on the BBC.
Yeah, whereas he's a payrolled employee.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay,
It's a
that
very
makes
different
sense.
thing. You know, I've
Yeah.
got a whole life outside of the BBC. So, and I certainly couldn't survive on the fee that they pay us.
Well, it's costing you money to be
That's
on
all
there.
the money we're investing. Exactly.
Yeah. So how much?
Do you feel like you can't say what you want to say all the time?
I think as you get bigger, you have a duty to be more balanced.
Yeah.
And that's. I recognise that I don't know everything, and that my view on the world is shaped by my own experience,
Yeah.
and that someone could be coming at it from a different angle. And if I'd lived their life, I would think the way they did. So I try to be balanced. I try to not be. Politics and money hit head on a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And you have to comment on it. For example, I can't ignore the economic impact of Brexit. I can't say that has been good for the economy, because the
It
proof
hasn't.
it hasn't. It hasn't. It might be in the
Yeah.
future, but right now it hasn't. But you say that and you instantly get called.
Yeah.
You know, there's 50% of the country that don't like you saying that, essentially.
Well, technically only 64. I'm sorry, not what's
No,
60, yeah, 30,
well, I think, and
36,
it's
yeah.
going like this.
Yeah.
But you know, so you have to dip in there, but you can also end up just caveating away your own message and seem like you're too on the fence.
Yeah.
So it's
I think people like genuine, like people who are.
You got to have an opinion. You've got to take a side, but at
Yeah.
the same time, it's also about recognizing that I don't know everything. I'm not as experienced as a lot of people out there.
Well, and to be fair, I don't. And actually, I like conversation on Twitter. I don't mind people coming back and saying, but what about? And I completely understand. People had their own reasons for voting Brexit. And I could so easily have also been sitting here thinking, I'm wrong. You know, that was good.
Yeah, it could have been better managed.
It could have been, absolutely.
It could have come out well.
But unfortunately, I was right.
Yeah.
No, and I mean unfortunately, because, you know, it's not helpful.
We've got some questions from the audience.
Ooh.
We filtered them out for the sensible ones. If we could just rattle them off, that'd be great. So people came in about ESG or ethical investing. You mean, what do you think about it, first of all? I think you're quite passionate, aren't you?
Very passionate. In fact, this morning I was talking to a big health organisation about supporting eco startups. Listen, we have to be. Everybody has got to take this seriously.
Yeah.
You know, we've been battering the world for hundreds of years. And it keeps standing up and going, oh, all right, I'll still feed you. I'll still give you clean water. And it's getting to the point where it's losing its battle against us. And we just need to help nature, you know, keep us alive. It's our support system. If you don't care about nature, you know, if you just care about yourself, then just start looking after the planet, because we can't survive without it.
How do you feel about this is obviously a minority, hopefully. Some businesses, they just pretend that they're doing all this.
Greenwash.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but yeah.
Greenwashing.
And I used to when I was working in the city, there was so many
We did
companies
all the
just
carbon
pretending.
credits, didn't you? And
Carbon credits,
that was a
carbon
mess.
emissions, and it was all just like, it was virtue signaling and pretending that they were doing something. Really, they just wanted more money and more clients. Do you find that happens often, or nowadays it's less frequent?
I think it did happen a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes intentional and sometimes not intentional. You know, they'll think, oh, we've got LED lights and we're recycling our plastic, so we're operating in a sustainable way.
Yeah.
You know, which isn't really. So I think it happened. It still does happen a bit. It used to happen a lot. But I actually think with the new ESG regulations and the new regulations that the EU have brought in, and if you want to trade with the EU, you've got to comply with their regs, is really pushing for a lot more transparency. So, and that's coming from the finance houses. So, you know, investment is now pretty well regulated. What does sustainable mean? To use the word sustainable, you know, you've got to comply with A, B, C, D. And once it starts at the investment level, that pushes down through. Now it's corporates have to comply. You know, and in a minute it'll be SMEs, you know, so I think
trickles
it's
down.
definitely getting better. But I always say to the consumer, if somebody says they're sustainable, ask why. Or if it's too hidden in their website, don't trust it. I should be able to do a couple of clicks and find what they mean by sustainable. If I have to look too hard, they don't mean it.
Yeah, I sat down with Vanguard and had a conversation with them about ESG and put the idea of greenwashing to them and said, you know, you're just charging more for people that want to do good things. And they basically said the pressure comes from the client. They want ethical funds, whatever that means, you know, because everyone has different ethics. Yeah. But then we go to the businesses and say, if you want to be in this fund, you need to do this, this, and this. And that's obviously good for your share price if the 100 billion in assets is getting poured into these companies.
Absolutely.
So it does, like you say, trickle down from the top.
Big difference, yeah. And if the pension funds, you know, so people like Aviva, they're insurance companies. They're worried about climate because at some point we could all become uninsurable. They will have no business.
Yeah.
So they use their investments to move. So they haven't stopped investing in fossil fuel companies. They've said, you've got to give us a plan to get out of fossil fuels. You know, show us a viable plan. And as long as you stick with the plan, we'll fund you. The minute you stop, we defund you.
Right.
So it's It's not just because you can't just turn it off. If you just turned off fossil fuels, everybody would be furious.
Yeah.
You know, there'll be no flights. Nobody will be going on holiday. You know, just stuff wouldn't work. So you can't do that. You've got to have a proper plan. So you've got to cut companies a bit of slack as long as they're moving forward, in my view.
Do you really favour businesses that have this ESG, or you said the single-use plastic thing?
Yeah.
You know, are you all over that then? So if someone's coming into the den, if they can have that angle to it, they might be a bit better.
So it is quite funny. So everybody comes into the den now, you know, talks about the business. They look at me and they go, and it's sustainable.
Oh, okay. It's like patting you on the head. There you go.
Exactly. And I'm like, why? You know, and then I sort out the ones that have just got a couple of LED lights and recycle their plastic versus the ones who are fundamentally sustainable. But
Has anyone come on Dragon's Den with an idea to replace water bottles? Because like every time I buy a water bottle and I try and
Called a
reuse
tap, mate.
if you're on the go,
is bottled water not the biggest con? That's
Oh, yeah, no, I
happened
drink
in
tap. I
history?
drink tap
It's
water,
completely
but
free coming out of your
yeah.
blinking
But if you're
tap.
going to like, I play basketball and I get like an Evian bottle, I fill it up with the water from the tap and I go, but still you got the plastic bottle.
Sometimes you just can't help, but like and they should have free sources of water, maybe. Because
think they should,
You know,
yeah.
you're stuck at a petrol station, you need a drink, you've got to get the plastic bottle.
Exactly.
The thing about plastic's actually a fantastic material. It's not plastic per se. It's the way we use it.
Single use.
It's the single use. It's the way we discard it. You know, actually, it's going to be part of the solution because carrying around plastic water bottles in terms of the environment, other than the plastic, is much better. There's far less carbon involved than glass bottles or mining of aluminium. You know, glass isn't always the answer. But the trouble with plastic, it's in the environment forever.
Yeah.
Or, you know, every bit of plastic that's ever made is still sitting in the environment. So to me, it's more about how we use plastic, recycle plastic, you know, and certainly don't use single-use plastic.
One thing that kind of infuriates me is just how much plastic everything's wrapped in a supermarket. You know, I mean, I'm not asking you to fix the world here, Deborah, but why is that the case? Why don't they change it?
Well, because in some cases, it prolongs the life of the fruit or the vegetable. And you've got to think about the carbon footprint and the water used in producing the goods. So if they actually end up turning up rotten, you know, that's bad news too.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. Plastic can be a good thing, you know. Listen, I'm not advocating plastic. My husband is fantastic. He's banned from Sainsbury's in Taunton because he stood at the till, unwrapped all of his good plastic stuff.
What a legend.
I know. You can imagine there's a queue behind him going tutting away. And he's like, I didn't ask for the plastic. I just want the apples. You know, so he is a legend. So I definitely don't advocate plastic. All I'm saying is that, you know, we're a bit, aren't we? We do this thing of plastic bad. Like, no, not all plastic bad. You know, some plastic actually good.
The next question from the audience: if you had 50k, what would you do with it? I mean, I'm sure you've got 50k. So
if one day,
wildest dreams, what am I going to do with £50,000? Oh, what would I do with 50k?
if Deborah had 50k, what would you do? I think if you only had 50k.
If I only had 50k.
I thought it was more like if you got a lump sum of 50k.
Yeah,
like
but
a tax rebate.
But it's a very different.
I love that you're
proposition.
debating what my 50k is.
Yeah.
Is it
Well,
a lump
we're going
sum,
to
or
give
do
it to you. We're the ones providing
Are
it.
you?
Yeah, to you.
That's recorded. Excellent.
No, I think we've got to put a bit of stakes because from an audience perspective, it'll be a very important 50k, one of the only 50ks.
Okay, so if I got a surprising 50k, what would I do with it? I would probably spend a bit because it would make me feel good, whether it would be take a bit of a holiday, and then the rest I'd probably split into 4 different investments. Nice. So I would spread my investment because I probably, if I've only just got my 50k, I'm probably not a sophisticated investor. So I would probably spread it across investments.
And when you say investments, not everyone's got access to the new Tangle Teas or whatever it is. So do you mean like actual companies or stocks and shares?
Probably some stocks and shares. Probably a pension. You know, people don't think about their pensions soon enough. You might want to do a bit on crowdfunding or something. You might find something you really care about and you love a product and you can make some quite small investments and make some, you know, you can lose your money, but you can make some decent returns on that as well. Very similar to being a dragon on, say, like a Crowdcube, which is a, early round investment. You've got to wait until the IPO or you have.
sell.
It's got to be money so this is a lump sum of 50,000 I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
So which means that I can put it somewhere.
You can have a little play with it.
And it can stay there until it actually returns me some cash. Or if I lost it, it wouldn't break my, break my home.
If someone's trying to assess a business in the way that you would in a Dragon's Den in a snapshot, what would you say the key numbers are that they should probably have in their eyes?
It's really simple. So turnover's good.
Yeah.
Gross profit's good. And net profit.
And you want year over year to see if there's growth in that, I'd imagine. So you'd like to know last year's, this year's, the year before or something.
Yeah, and sometimes, depending on the industry, I would know, for example, that if it's a tech industry, then probably what I would be looking for is good growth in turnover, probably flatline in profit, possibly losing money for quite a period of time, because that's the industry it's in.
Yeah.
Another industry, I would say, well, actually, I would be expecting profits from year 2, so you've got to have a level of understanding of an industry. That's what I was saying about if you're going to invest in something, try and make it in something that you fundamentally understand, not just investment terms, but, how it works when people buy things. Is it a Christmas gift, type thing?
Well, you see that on the den, don't you? You all say, I've got experience in this field because of this. So you've got a comparable that you can compare the numbers. It should operate at this kind of margin.
Yeah.
And if it's not, there's something wrong here.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then, sorry, it was Nellie Sultan who asked the last question. And then Ollie Turby said, what motivates you and has that changed throughout your career?
So in the early days, it was money, because I didn't have money. So obviously it was money. I like my version of success. Everybody should know what their version of success is, and it really shouldn't be cash. Partially cash is fine, but if somebody just says, because I'm a multimillionaire, then I feel quite sad for them, really. Because success to me is creating the life that you want. Money helps you do that. But it is only the tool for doing that. So whatever my version of success is, achieving that version of success, that's what motivates me. And that's not getting to an end game and looking back and thinking I was a success. Every business I get involved in will have successful landmarks. And each one of those is a yee moment. So find those moments of success and give yourself a moment to literally go, that was good. We did that, and I feel absolutely entitled to say when I've done a good job. I feel quite happy to say, do you know what? I was blinking good then, because I will also say I was rubbish, and nobody can tell me any different.
I love that.
Because I know whether I'm good and I know whether I'm bad, and you won't influence that. I'm not silly.
I really struggle to kind of celebrate my wins. You rationalize them away as luck or something like this, whereas I love your attitude. It's so good.
No, just do it. Just do what I do. Just say, that was bloody good.
Yeah.
But I do feel, also, otherwise you can get a bit
Peter Jonesy.
Full of yourself.
I'm just trying to lay him in there.
Stop digging out Peter Jones.
Full of yourself. You've got to know when you got it wrong, and you got it. But don't carry it around with you. Just, I don't learn like that.
So do you have a moment and then say, because I'm great at celebrate. I celebrate everything. I'm
Excellent.
like, I found £1. I'm like, I did this. I got a like on Instagram. I celebrate
that's
everything.
good.
I'll go to the
That's
pub. Let's get some champagne that way. We got a new follower on Instagram. But like when you do something badly, how do you, like, without carrying it around with you? That's what I do. I kind of brush everything bad under the carpet, and then anything good I celebrate. But I don't carry it with me. I'm just like, I normally ignore, but I'm optimistic, so I ignore bad things.
Don't
His
ignore,
glove box
because
is full of parking tickets.
Oh yeah,
To give you an
I'm getting better. I've got one congestion charge I need to pay, actually, just remind me. But yeah, I'm getting better with the parking tickets. Congestion charge is still stinging
You
me.
do need to face up with the bad stuff.
Yeah.
You do know that.
And like sometimes
it's part of life.
I get letters in the mail and I don't open it for like a week, and my partner is like, open your mail. I'm like, I will. It's just let me do this first. Let me do this, and then one day
What
I'll
do you
like.
think's going to happen when you open the
They
mail?
might give me a bad news or like a fine or a bill or I don't know. And half the time it's like,
But what do you think is going to happen when you don't open it?
I don't have to worry about it at that point in time. I'll worry about it.
but
It's tomorrow's
when?
problem. Manana.
No, I tell you what I do.
Kick it down the road.
Something bad. I've done something wrong. I've got it bad. I just think about it. What was it? What went wrong there? I thought that was going. I didn't intend to get it wrong. I didn't intend to be bad at something. So what did I do that was wrong? Then it just goes in my toolbox. It just, don't do that again. That didn't work. Don't do that again. And then move on.
I even do that with text messages. If someone texts me something bad, I don't open the message for like a day or two, and I'm like, okay, let me think about what I'm reply, and I just don't reply. Then after 2 days, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it now. Then I just reply, and I'm like, unfortunately, blah blah blah. So like, I kind of like to put off bad things.
Yeah.
I don't know. I deal with them eventually. I just don't like.
It's interesting because I always in business, you've always got things you don't want to do. You've got calls you don't want to make.
Right.
You've got people you've got to let go of sometimes you don't want to do. The minute I felt that, I had to do it then.
Straight away.
Because the more you think about it, I think the bigger and the
bigger
worse
it gets. 100%.
You know, just deal with it. So so I think that's probably, you know, that's what I do. I literally think, what have I got right? Yeah, okay, I'm not doing that again. Don't like that.
This has gone from a chat about money to a therapy session.
It has.
I need it. Thank you. Appreciate it. I've got a lot of therapy that I need.
Yeah, you sorted my kids out. You sorted me out. Amazing.
Saving the planet with plastic, everything.
Yeah.
Job done.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed today's episode, you're going to love this one.
And if you want a summary of everything we've discussed, then sign up to our newsletter down below.